G'day everyone, Prep Aussie here. Today is the 21st of the 5th, 2016, and the time here is 20:03 WAST. Okay, I didn't know where to start tonight, but I've got loads to cover, so it's going to be a bit of a long journey tonight, unfortunately, but there's loads to show you, so I didn't know where to start really. So I thought I'd start at this. Someone sent me, or a sub sent me an email today and posted this to me and said, have a look at this. Now, this is at a site called wizard.com. The pole axis drift is doing a larger spiral wobble. Now, basically, this model here represents this model here. Zero tilt, and it goes along and breaks down the years for you: 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016. As you can see, we're a long way out in 2016 from there. The axis dots on the circle form a circle on the graph, form a circle and show the year's axis tilt variation. So we're currently at approximately 21.5 as far as I can tell there. Over the year, the North Pole forms a circle when viewed from above the elliptic. So the North Pole is 25.5 degrees out, and the axis tilt is 21.5 out as well. So I don't understand how he's got that. Axis tilt, maximum, minimum. Okay, sorry. Okay, well, that's a bloody huge. That's exactly what Strop and I were talking about the other night, and proves that we are actually tilting. And as it says down here, the months are out of place as well, as the tilt is still more than last year and is way more extreme than 3 years ago. So basically, we're not in the same place as we used to be, and the months are longer, I'm guessing, or shorter, depending on which way it is. So that's the site there, www.wizard.com. It's pretty handy actually, and it goes right through every single date. Right through. And then right at the bottom, it's got videos. This one here is pretty interesting. Haven't watched these ones yet. I ran out of time today. Okay. The next thing for everyone to to know is that here in Australia, we had the grand distinction last night of having the strongest earthquake ever on mainland Australia. Now, it might seem kind of weird to say that, but there it is there. It's in the middle of the Mulga scrub somewhere, nowhere, in the middle of nowhere basically, back of beyond, where the crows fly backwards to keep the dust out of their eyes. The interesting thing here is Australia has very few earthquakes. We have little tremors here and there, and even a 1.5 degree tremor, or whatever they call it, makes news, regardless of where it is in Australia. You can guarantee you'll hear about it on the radio, no problem at all. Not only did it not make the radio, I'll show you why in a second. This was shocking to me. I didn't even know this. Watch this. Excuse me. This is how many we've had in a month. And folks, we never ever have earthquakes in Australia. We have like little tremors. We had a big one in Newcastle in the early 80s and wiped the place out, sort of thing. We had another kind of a large-scale one in Kalgoorlie in 2011, I think it was, 2010. And that busted a few things. But look, you could count on one hand how many big earthquakes we've had. So have a look at that in Australia only. Now watch this. This is Australia only. Going from the 22nd of April right through to 9:30 tonight. Now the one in the Northern Territory that I was talking about, watch this. Started off as a 6.1, which is just phenomenal. Well, that's massive for Australia, and it didn't even make the news or anything. You know, and granted it's out in the middle of Billy Bop. And so far out, the pigs don't even squeal for help. But my point there is that we are having some pretty big significant earthquakes. If you go through these, 4.1, 3.5, 6.1, 3.6, there's some pretty chunky earthquakes in there. Now, you might have all followed the pole shifting and all that sort of stuff with Nancy Leader. Look, I don't know whether she's batshit crazy or she's just, if she's making it up, I'll tell you what, for someone who's making it up, she doesn't seem to be doing too bad. These earthquakes, most of them have been at a depth of 10 kilometres. So I thought I'd read up what's the significance of the depth of an earthquake. I have to remember which part it was. More or less it says that it's all to do with the tectonic plates shifting, as everyone knows that. And of course there's, you know, I'm not a bloody geologist or anything, or a volcanologist or earthquakeologist or whatever the bloody hell they call themselves, but it's interesting to note that most of the earthquakes have been at 10 kilometres down, and most of the ones around the Earth have been at 10 kilometres down. Oh, this was a bit. By carefully plotting the location and depth of earthquakes associated with a subduction zone, we can see details of the zone's structure, such as how steeply it is dipping and if the downgoing plate is planar or is bending. These details are important because they give us insight in the mechanics and characteristics of the deformation in the subduction zone. Well, that's all great, isn't it? But we're starting to get a cluster of these things going right across Australia. And the interesting thing is, like I said on pole shifting, they said that there was going to be a big dip in this part of Australia and this part of the world would disappear, including India. India was going to get rammed up underneath here somewhere. And this part here would go down 500 feet. And this part here would rise 500 feet. Well, you don't have to be Einstein to work out there's something going on. Excuse me. So I'll go back to Australia and region. Can anyone see a plot beginning here? You know, I don't think I've ever seen so many earthquakes. Look at that. Bloody hell. It's phenomenal, isn't it? Anyway, I'm digressing. Just thought I'd point that out to everyone. You can go on the Australian website here. Recent earthquakes, Geoscience Australia. And then moving on to the next thing. 6 volcanoes in 6 different countries all start erupting with hours of each other. I'm not really 100% sure when this was done, but I read this and I thought it was interesting. One second. Okay, so like I said, 7 volcanoes in 6 different countries all start erupting with hours of each other. Japan's got a new island. A new island has appeared in the Pacific. A submarine eruption off Nishino-shima Island, Japan, has erupted for the first time in 40 years. So it's actually got a new island. But what I found interesting was, apart from the fact that there's 7 volcanoes going off, was down here, was this comment down here. So we have eruptions big enough to prompt evacuation, flights are cancelled, and a new island pops up off the coast of Japan. I would have called that newsworthy myself, but obviously I'm wrong. If I was right, it would have been common knowledge, right? Reports may have been on the news, right? So many volcanoes throwing so much gas, ash, and particles into the air can have an effect on climate. This is a scientific fact. I'm not saying that these volcanoes herald the start of a new ice age, but the planet certainly seems to be getting a bit more active of late. Well, isn't that the truth? Remember that? Look at that. Now we've got all these volcanoes going off. And then, lo and behold, Costa Rica volcano exploded this morning, belching ash up to 3,000 meters into the air. Hundreds of people have gone to hospital complaining of breathing difficulties and skin problems. This is all in Costa Rica, folks. Costa Rica is home to dozens of volcanoes, but most of them are dormant. Well, not anymore. Sunshine? Look at this. This is the capital. It's pitch black. This isn't funny, I know, but someone please tell me we're dreaming.